A dose of common sense in the afternoon. This is Dave Taylor on Calgary's breaking news and conversation station, News Talk 770.
Welcome back to the Dave Taylor Show. I'm Dan Leando, filling in for Dave today. The phone number, 974-8255. That's 974-TALK. Or text me, 770-770. But right now, I want to talk about internet trolling. Zelda Williams, daughter of Robin Williams, has been chased off social media after receiving really a torrent of hate-filled emails and pictures depicting her dead father. She's decided to leave social networks, possibly for good. Well, this is a question that Jonathan Bishop has been looking at for some time now. He's an IT exec and has written extensively on internet trolling, including in journals and newspapers in the UK, and that's where I've reached him today, I believe, in Wales. Is that right, Jonathan?
That's right, Dan.
Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Let's just talk about trolling first of all. Can you define it for me?
Well, the definitions changed from the 90s when it was provoking for humorous effect, and now it generally means posting messages on the internet that are either provocative or offensive.
Yeah, and, you know, I wonder what you think about this most recent story with Zelda Williams. Surprised?
No, I wasn't surprised. I was actually waiting for my phone to ring after when Robin Williams was announced dead, because there's people out there who are not the nicest people going, and if someone like Zelda Williams is on social media, that's their chance to have a go at her.
Is it because we're anonymous, they're anonymous, that they feel secure in doing and saying things that, you know, you would never do to someone's face?
That's essentially what happens on the internet, because people can hide behind their IP addresses, knowing that the police won't do anything, and nor will the social media platforms. They feel they can get away with it, and they will try to.
I'm sure you've studied this question now for some time. Can you come up with or tell me about some other examples of this, some especially egregious examples?
Okay, well, the most talked about in the UK at the moment is this feminist called Caroline Corredo-Perez, and essentially she was asking for more women on banknotes, and obviously the trolls saw that a woman asking for more women, and she had perhaps some of the most vile rape threats, and so did other people who were in the same campaign. So public figures need to realise they're going to have to develop a thick skin to cope with all this.
It is, you know, you want to think best of humanity, you want to think better of human nature, but when something like this ability to be anonymous, does it reveal perhaps just how bad we can be?
Yeah, well, what's most interesting is if you look in the dictionaries of the internet, you'll see what's happening now happened by email, Usenet in the past. So basically, technology changes, humans stay the same.
So it seems. Let's talk about the legality around this. You know, could you criminalize this? Is it criminal? Is it a criminal act, or is it just being a terrible person?
Well, essentially, what's illegal offline is illegal online, but in countries like the UK, we've had specialist laws like the Telecommunication Act 1984, which has been used to prosecute trolling before the 2003 Communications Act came in.
Do you think, I mean, have there been many examples of prosecutions of this that you can think of?
I'm not so sure about Canada, but in the UK there's been a hell of a lot, and someone had a caution from the police just for telling the Olympic diver Tom Daley that his father would be ashamed of him for not winning a medal. So in the UK, I'd say it's probably the opposite to Canada. Free speech is something hard to get access to.
You know, and what about the question of anonymity on the internet? I mean, it's incredibly important when you consider political movements in repressive countries like China, Iran. The ability to stay anonymous is key to your survival, and even more so to try and create a better country, but it also creates the ability for things like this, to troll and be an awful person. Does it raise the question for you about whether or not we should be anonymous on the internet?
Well, I've always argued that we should at least have to have our identity verified by a website, and I'm thinking for people who want to hide their identity, they should have to agree to use like the word anonymous. But in terms of whistleblowers, well, I'm a journalist myself, and these people can go to journalists, and the journalists can keep their identity secret and report on it, so they don't actually need to do it themselves. They can go through journalists.
Right, so even if we wanted to try and create or de-anonymize the internet, it would be basically impossible.
Well, in the European Union, they've now made it so you have to obtain consent to have cookies. So basically my view is if the government passed the law, the market would respond and basically put whatever provisions are in place, because that's what happened in the UK with electronic signatures. The government said to the industry, if you don't sort your act out, we'll bring in this law, which you don't want. So a kind of carrot and whip approach. If you don't do it, we'll do it.
What about the responsibility of websites like Twitter and Facebook? Again, such incredible instruments for freedom and democracy and freedom of speech, but at the same time also create this ability to, well, terrorize people. Do they have a responsibility to try and clean up their own part of the yard?
Well, I talked about in my book, Transforming Politics and Policy in the Digital Age, and my view is a platform like Twitter, if they were to be policing everything was said, they basically go out of business. But they are being problematic in what they're doing, because in order to report something offensive, you have to be the person who it's about. And so what I think they need to do is when somebody sends a message to your username, anything within your username, you should be allowed to delete.
Well, it's a good recommendation, Jonathan. I appreciate you joining me this afternoon for this conversation. I know it's getting late there in Wales, so thanks again, and hope to have you on again in the future.
Sure, Dan. Thanks.
That's Jonathan Bishop. He is an IT executive. He's written extensively on internet trolling. I'd love to hear what you think about this Zelda Williams case, but even more broadly about the question of internet trolling. 974-TALK or text me at 770-770. Have you been a victim of internet trolling? Are you a troll yourself? And what do you think about the responsibility for people on the internet? Should you be de-anonymized? Should you have a real identity tied to your identity on the internet? I mean, that would be one fell swoop way to eliminate this sort of problem. If everyone knew who you were and where you worked, I think stuff like this would quickly end. Of course, that's problematic in and of itself. The ability to be anonymous on the internet is critical, and especially countries, as I mentioned, China and Iran, and the ability to be able to criticize your government privately and anonymously. It's a very difficult question, but one I'd like to talk to you about. 974-TALK or text me 770-770.
A dose of common sense in the afternoon. This is Dave Taylor on Calgary's breaking news and conversation station, News Talk 770.